Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. Welcome to You Are the Breakthrough. Hi, ladies. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me live. I realized when I first set up the date, it was Independence Day in America. So I thought it's probably not the best time, but at the same time, it's awesome because it's a time to just become completely independent of all of the limitations and patterns and things that you're ready to break through. So hi, Sundancer. Hello. Nice to have you here. Thank you for joining. So I don't know how many of us are going to be joining us live, but we'll just get straight to it and not hold on too long. They can join as they pop along. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with me. I'm honored to be able to share this with you, and I've been really excited to be planning this and all of the things that have been coming through. And I really want to make these 3 days together powerful and something that will give you a huge breakthrough that you can walk away from this just having broken through something, having seen something you can never unsee, having let go of something that you never have to be constrained by again. So my hope for you really is that. Let me just see what have you just said in the chat. Will this be in the group in case I have to go? Yeah, there will be replays available for this as well. So they'll be sent out at the end of today, and the link will be in the Facebook group as well. So just on that, for anyone, we've had nearly 50 people join this event, and only a handful of us in the Facebook group. So if you're watching this on the replay, I do encourage you to come over and join the Facebook group. There was a bit of a hoo-ha with it, and I had to set up a new one, but the new one's ready now. So come along into the Facebook group where we can share, we can connect with each other, we can share our ahas and our breakthroughs and build community, because that's what makes these events more powerful as well, is when we share that energy together. So I do encourage you to do that. Let me know in the chat then, where are you coming from? I don't recognize Sundancer's name. I know Gigi. I know you're in the States somewhere, aren't you? Yeah. And
Yeah, from
how
Pennsylvania.
in Pennsylvania?
Mm.
Amazing. And how about you, Sundancer? Are you in Europe? Are you in America? You can just let me know in the chat. And anyone else that joins in, just come in, let us know how you're doing today, where you're calling in from. And also, just let us know what's your intention in being here today. And if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you comment in the group. Let us know what your intention is. What are you here to release? What are you here to break through? Something called you into this experience. And when we actually take a minute to consider that and then claim it and state it, especially amongst other people, our group energy can then be poured into that intention too. So it's really powerful. So if you're watching this on the replay, make sure you comment too and let us know your intention. So, how this is going to work is obviously we have our time together today. We've got this day two is on Monday at 4 p.m. at the same time, BST. And then day three is going to be on Wednesday. And that's really to give you time to integrate all the things that we go through in between the days as well, because sometimes three in a row can just be too much for people. So, I wanted to try this one out and see if this works better for you guys. So, my intention is really, as I said, it's just helping you release whatever's been holding you back at the moment with whatever it is that you want to achieve, whatever it is you want to break through. It's really to help expose some of the hidden blocks and lies and patterns that we fall into unconsciously, even though we've done the work, even though we've been doing the work for years, even though we've done all the healing, right? We still fall into these patterns, into these blocks. And I really want to share so many different things that can help you then see in your own reality, in your own identity, and in your own patterns where this is true for you, right? So I want to be able to help you see yourself in a new light, in a more empowered light. I want you to leave this feeling unstoppable, feeling like anything is possible, because it really is. And all that's doing is connecting you to your truth, your power, and your light. I want to help you reclaim your power and start becoming unapologetic in who you are, in who you want to be, in the things that you want, in the life that you want to create. Just becoming unapologetic and deciding that this is for you right here, right now, and you don't need to wait anymore. I really want to help you create that big shift. And then at the end of this, for anyone that wants to go deeper into this work and spend time together in a really high proximity, just, oh, I'm letting have to let people in. Sorry, I thought it was on automatic. In in an environment that's high proximity, high coaching, I will be sharing an opportunity right at the end of day 3 where we can go on and take this work further. We can go on a much deeper journey together and spend 10 weeks together, really integrating and embodying this work to a point that you make that deep, deep subconscious shift in identity and energy that you can recode your reality. So I'll be sharing that at the end. And this is something I've been working on in the pipeline, and it is already mind-blowing and incredible, and I just can't wait to start sharing it with people. So yes, let's see. Facebook group. Yeah, I've already asked you to come join that. And anyone that can join live, I know that today is Independence Day and it's probably the worst day to set it up for those American friends, but anyone that can come and join these live, it's just so much more powerful. I feed off your energy, you will feed off mine, and it makes such a difference to have people with me in the same room virtually and connecting. It really makes such a big difference to me. And the more activated I get, the more I can pour into you and give to you and serve you and impact you. So whoever can come on live, it makes such a massive difference. So I'd really appreciate that. And you will benefit from that. So thank you, ladies, again for being here on the live. Is there anything else I want to share with you before we break into it? I think I've done all my housekeeping. So for those of you who are new to this, I'm not sure where everyone's come from or where everyone's seen me from. I know some of you are past clients. Some of you I have been to a couple of these events before, and maybe some of you have just found me on social media and you're coming to me for the first time. So I'm Kirsty Elizabeth. I am a certified coach and energy healer, and I am completely obsessed with helping women break free from their subconscious blocks, their hidden patterns, the chains of the past, all the things that have held them back from living the life that they want to live, from feeling into their limitlessness, their potential, their power, that has left them playing on the sidelines of their life, and really helping them activate their main character energy, their iconic energy. And really, like I said before, just being unapologetic in who you are, how you want to show up to life, but actually seeing yourself as that version. That is what I'm obsessed with helping women do, because most of us just don't see it in us. We see it in everyone else except for us. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. I've been an entrepreneur for around 16 years. I have done lots of different things, ranging from painting like wooden keepsakes for babies, hand painted wooden letters. That was my very first business, to running Airbnb properties, to doing a couple of property developments, and having tenants, to a product-based business that I ran for 10 years. That was a multi 7-figure business, to coaching and healing and doing all the work I do now. So I have a lot of experience in business, and every single one of those ventures took something from me. I had to change. I had to become someone else. I have been through fear and discomfort more times than I can count. And although and I will touch on this, it's one of the things I want to talk to you about. I still slip back into the old patterns. I still slip back into things, because every new level we reach, there's a new level for us to go through. And we can often think that's us being kept back, us going backwards almost, but it's not. It's just there's more to unravel, more to release without the shame and the judgment. So I've been through this so many times. I became a coach around 5 years ago. I will talk a bit more about this story in a minute, but ultimately I'd found out about law of attraction, mindset, subconscious, really realized that I could be someone else and actually create better results in my business and in my life and in how I saw myself and who I was. And as I did that, we saved our business that was struggling at the time to hitting a £1 million sales goal, which was just it was impossible, literally impossible. But we applied all of the things that we learn and that I'll be sharing over these next 3 days as well, to really create an undeniable shift that showed us that when we work on ourselves inside, that is what creates our outside reality. And that is the first thing I'm going to be sharing with you in a minute. Before I continue, I just want to check. I think I forgot to live stream this. So just bear with me 2 secs, because I'm not sure if I needed to press another button to do that. No, it is. All right, it's fine. So, as I've ventured onto this journey, I've understood at first it was all about mindset and subconscious. And then I really started to understand that we can't always think our way out of it. And we come across so many battles in our own minds. It's our mind that holds us back. It's our mind that has the answer. It's our mind that holds the problem, right? It keeps us in a prison most of the time. And I really started to learn more about energy and emotions and how emotions really affect us, how our nervous system really affects us, how the mind and body connection is so important. And actually, it's really in integrating all of these parts of ourselves, all of these dimensions of ourselves in order to create what it is that we want and overcome the things that are holding us back. So I spent 6 months learning from Bob Proctor just before he died, which was absolutely incredible to have that time where he'd show up live every week and we'd get to ask him questions and things. And he was mentoring us. I spent about £36,000 on programs just with him and his top coach at the time. I did my energy certification, my energy healing certification with Oliver Nino, who some of you might know, the spiritual activator, who is an absolute master in his own field. So it's not Reiki, it's something different. He teaches geo love healing, and it is so powerful. And he's helped millions of people. He works with billionaires, top CEOs, celebrities, movie stars, all the, that level of people that really they still have the same stuff we do, right? They can be out there, they can be public, they can be really, really successful in their field, but they still have the same stuff. And he has worked with so many of them on their own healing journey as well. And I use the exact techniques that he uses on all of these people. So he resonated so much with me and really got me into this world of energy, which is just, again, once you see it, you can't unsee it because you realize we are all energy and this is what makes up all of us in the universe. So going beyond the mind to working at an energetic level alongside the mind is where everything changes. So I'm excited to share as much as possible in these 3 days together. I won't be holding back on anything. I'll be sharing as much as I can. But like I said, this is really to help you start seeing in your own reality, in your own self, what is holding you back. So we can start revealing those blind spots, because when you're aware of it, you can change it. But all the time you're not, it's running as a subconscious pattern and we're just not aware. So today's lesson is called Beyond the Illusion. And I'm going to be talking about us going beyond the illusion. Day 2, which is Monday, is all about mistaken identity, how up until this point you've been living a mistaken identity, how we really get to the source of our true identity, and how we change our identity. So that is going to be a really, really powerful session to come to. And day 3 is one of the biggest problems that we all have is holding the energy. So when we want something, when we have a goal, when we want to become someone, when we want to manifest something, whatever it is, when we have a dream and a vision, it's holding the energy is a real art and discipline, and it requires real mastery. So I'm going to be going through that in detail on day 3. So we're going to be ending really, really powerfully. So every day is going to have something very, very valuable in here for you deliberately. So are you ready to get started? We're going to start with day 1. So beyond the illusion. Now, I've recently published a video on YouTube talking about the mirror principle, because I find this is the easiest way for us to understand at a logical level how our reality works. So we've been raised to think that the outside world is what it is, and we have to go out there and we have to try and force change and change things and take action and use our hands and do physical things to change what is happening outside. But the mirror principle aligns to the fact that we are conscious creators. So we are creating our lives consciously through our thoughts, our feelings, our attitudes, and our actions. It's not necessarily that we're out here trying to fix this thing. It's where is it coming from? Where are our intentions? Where are our beliefs and our stories? These are the real things that are creating what we're seeing outside of us. So when we think in terms of quantum physics, very, very simplified, we are all energy. Everything in the universe is energy. And the observer effect, one of the most famous experiments in quantum physics that blew everyone's mind, was the fact that everything in this world, when you break it down, the building blocks of the universe, it is made of subatomic particles. So even us, we're broken down to cells, molecules, atoms, and then right at the sort of base of that is subatomic particles, and subatomic particles are 99.9999% space. And space is energy. So we are basically energy. But the interesting thing is with the observer experiment is that through your sheer power of observation, these subatomic particles actually condense down into matter. So they become something physical in your physical reality through your observation. And what creates our observation? It's how we're looking at things, what we're expecting to come in. It's our beliefs, it's our stories, it's our identity. It's what we are expecting to be seeing is what draws it in. So the mirror principle is telling us, outside is a mirror, it's the reflection. And we're out there trying to change the reflection, not realizing that the reflection is simply a projection of what it is that's going on inside us, how we see ourselves, what we expect for ourselves, how we think we're limited, what we think is possible for us. The stories we have about whether it's easy or hard to be successful, to make money, to find peace, to find love, to be joy, whether we feel like we should be struggling in life, whether everything should be hard, or whether we can live on easy mode. All of these things is literally condensing energy into matter and creating our physical 3D reality. So what we wouldn't do is look in a mirror, not like what we see. I mean, we might do that. We're looking in the mirror, we're not liking what we see. We're not going to go up to the mirror. Say we've got some lipstick smudged across our face. We're not going to go up to the mirror and try and wipe the lipstick from the reflection, right? We go to ourselves and we change it on ourselves. If we're looking in the mirror and we don't like the clothes we're in, we're not trying to take the clothes off the reflection. We go and sort that out ourselves, right? We put ourselves in something new. And so I know they sound like silly examples, but if we can make it silly, it makes it very much easier to then start changing ourselves from within, understanding that our power lies within where we're directing our focus, our attention, our thoughts, our energy, our emotions, right? And the stories we are keep telling. Now, I work with so many women that have been in this work for so long, but we're still getting tripped up by the same stories because often, and I'll touch on this later, often the pain of knowing this work, of understanding this work, is we start seeing the patterns. We see the beliefs. That belief came from mum and dad. That belief came from that experience. That happened to me. But we don't actually let go of it. We keep recycling it over and over, and it gets painful because we get frustrated because we're like, but I know it. I know we're in the pattern. I know why am I still repeating it? Why am I still repeating it? And we're giving it more and more energy. So it can be very, very frustrating, but it's also where our power is. And when we change our consciousness, we literally change everything around us. So as an example, practical example to give you tangible results so that you can actually understand this at a logical level is the story that I tell about the product business. A couple of years ago, it was failing. It was doing really badly. It had done well for years. We were having a great income. We had an easy life. Everything was predictable. It was easy. And then all of a sudden, the sales started going down out of nowhere. And then we got really emotionally involved and focused on the fact that it was declining, 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 declining. And with that came fear. We forgot the fact that for however many years, 8 years, 7 years, whatever it was at that point, we forgot the fact that it had been going up well. Everything went hyper focused on the fact that it was a failure. We were failing. That meant we were a failure. We can't do anything about this. We're stuck. We're powerless. We fell straight into victim mode, complete and utter powerlessness. And so month on month, it continued to go down. We didn't get paid because we were powerless. We felt powerless. We couldn't change it. It didn't matter what we do, we were telling ourselves that was the story. And lucky enough at the time, I was learning about all of this stuff, subconscious reprogramming, the power of identity, how to think differently to change your reality, how to think differently to change the energy that you're in. So you create a different vibration. So you're attracting different results and different things into your life. And as we applied it and integrated it and embodied it, instead of just collecting the information, we did it. We held on to it like it was the Holy Grail. We believed it. And we just thought, what have we got to lose at this point, right? We've got nothing to lose. And so, we did the visualizations, we changed our identity, we stopped telling ourselves that we were a failure, we couldn't do it. We upgraded our identity to something we'd never been able to achieve before. And we said it to ourselves so often that we believed it. It's £1 million year. It's £1 million year. Anyone outside of us in the real world, right, would have laughed in our faces, would have told us to go and get jobs, would have told us all the logical things we should have been doing. And even during this time, we had so many difficult problems. Like we couldn't get stock at one point and the whole world was out. It was all pre-COVID time. So the whole world was out of our stock. And we were like, God, we really should look at a side hustle or setting something else up. No, faith. faith, we're holding the vision, we're doing what we said, we're following the book, right? We're following the steps. Let's just hold it, hold the vision, hold the vision, hold the vision, hold the energy, hold the identity. And then out of nowhere, within weeks, stock came up for us. Not anyone else, just us, just this random bunch of stock. And so we had those dips, we had those things that we had those low points of, is this really working? Like, are we crazy? Are we bonkers? And sure enough, it took 13 months. But after 13 months, we hit £1 million in 12 months, which we'd never done before. And it was impossible because our business was about to close and we were selling a product whose lifetime had really gone. It was on its last legs anyway. And we're like, how is this even possible? Right. So it showed us, we literally took the principle, the mirror principle, applied it and got results from it. So that was absolutely incredible. And then last year, I got really unwell, physically unwell. And there was all sorts of things going on. There was a lot of stress in my life. There was lots of perimenopause symptoms kicking off, which I didn't realize, had no idea. So there was a lot of exhaustion, a lot of mood swings, like feeling like I was someone else. I felt crazy for a while there without knowing what was going on. And, I got really ill and I had chronic fatigue symptoms. I couldn't get out of bed barely. I could walk the dogs twice a day, a half a walk that they'd normally have, and that would do me. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't work. Everything was just a nightmare. And of course, I slipped into that physical matter. I'm looking at the 3D going, I'm powerless again. I can't fix this. What's going on? Just hyper focusing on my symptoms, my physical symptoms, on the problem, sucked so much into the energy of the problem that I wasn't available for the solution. I wasn't available to be able to pull myself out of it. But bit by bit, slowly, I started applying the work again. Right, what is the story I'm telling myself here? I know it goes against everything that I'm seeing with my five senses and it feels like a lie, but let's start telling myself a different story that every day I'm starting to feel more energized. Let's start visualizing myself and seeing me as the identity as someone with lots of energy that can do anything, that could go for a run if I want. I mean, the thought of going for a run was just, that would kill me. You're joking. I couldn't even do 2 steps of that. So bit by bit, I started applying it. Then I started finding solutions, different things. I started learning even more deeply about the nervous system and its role and what was going on in my body. And then being able to apply these things internally. I didn't go on HRT. I wasn't taking any medication. I wasn't doing anything massively different on the outside. I was changing what was going on the inside. I was doing more emotional healing because lots of things had come up, nervous system regulation. I was making myself commit to body movement practices to help with the flow of my body, to help with my mind, and getting myself back into a disciplined state. No matter how tired I was, I had to get up and I had to do my breath work and my yoga, for example. And these were all new, some of them were new things I was doing. Some of them I just slipped off the wagon, and some of them were things I always did. But by committing to this, now I'm like a different person. And I still haven't I'm taking I'm taking more vitamins, I'm eating more protein. But apart from that, I haven't had to do anything massively different apart from be more careful with my nutrition and things like that. But, no medication, nothing else. Just literally what I've been focusing on, what has been going on inside my body and inside my mind. I'm not saying this is it for everyone. It's just another example of how I was so sucked into the reflection and trying to, feeling powerless against the reflection, to then going, I can change the reflection. I'm taking my power back. And bit by bit, as things started shifting, that's all you need. It's that confidence. When you start seeing the shift, then you can compound it. Then you can get your energy behind it. Then you can start believing it. The belief comes with the progress that you make. The belief's not there at first because you're seeing something different, but you have to build it through the progress, through the daily shifts, through the momentum. So I was really focused, instead of locked into the results and what was happening to me, I was focused on what are the inputs that I need to change here. What are the things I need to change from a consciousness perspective, from my attitudes, from my, and then as I did that, then I came across certain people online that could teach me more about the nervous system and chronic illness. The opportunities come up, the right people come in front of you. Like, when the YouTube videos come up online and you're like, 1 minute you're thinking, God, I really want to learn this. And if you're in the right vibe, if you're in the right frequency, the next time you look at your phone, there's the video for you from someone that you've never seen or heard of before. And there's your answer, right? It happens like this. So tell me, what is landing? Drop in the chat. What's coming through for you right now? Like, is anything landing for you personally? Can you relate to any of this? And of course, anyone watching the replay on Facebook or wherever this video is, just also drop in the comments, what is coming through for you? Share it, integrate it. And I would just love to know, because it will help me tailor this a bit more as well. Because it's so convincing, the 3D reality. It's so convincing, the outside world. And it's such a challenging leap and shift to make, to just keep going back inside without blaming yourself. That's another thing I find my clients do all the time as well. And I've fallen into this trap as well, is blaming ourselves because we're like, we should know better, and not being compassionate with ourselves. All right, let's just check the chat. Okay, yeah, perfect. I didn't have my chat on. How does this work if you find it difficult to identify emotions? This all is identifying the emotions. It's all practice. It's getting to know yourself. How does it work if you find it difficult to identify emotions? Are you talking about specific emotions? Because you can
I've
do this.
always, sorry, I've always had like issues where I've been like quite blocked, and like quite emotionally like numb. So I think that's from.
Right.
I think it was discouraged as a child. I was like not to cry, and that's obviously like something that's kind of been put through my beliefs probably since childhood.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I think the word numb is a perfect description. This has a lot to do with nervous system, and it's also just giving yourself permission to feel feelings. And there's a lot of work that can be done around this. It's not here's a tool, go do it. It's more of a journey inwards to start processing and allowing yourself to actually feel. So, like you
Yeah,
said, if you were told you were too sensitive and, you're not allowed to feel this and you're not allowed to feel that, we do shut it off. But then we have all of these energies, all of these emotions then get suppressed and stuck in our body, and they create results. They basically compound and anchor in the patterns that are repeating in our lives. They keep the beliefs in, they store the beliefs there. So something that can help you is energy healing, because energy healing actually starts unraveling some of this stuck energy, right? And it tends to really uproot some of these emotions. Like after an energy healing, you often feel feelings that you might not even want to feel because they've been suppressed so long. Another thing is breath work. It's really the mind and body connection here that can really help you to release this. Breath work is very powerful.
unfortunately, I've got a bit of a trigger that I need to belief code first before I can go on to doing the breath work because it's related to something like an assault off when I was younger. Um, but I was just going to say that could actually help with your menopause symptoms because there's a lot of people actually have dealt with that because I'm part of that as well at the minute. And completely got rid of their symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different techniques and modalities out there, so many different things. But, for the purpose of this, for you to identify your emotions, like you said, maybe you do your belief coding on yourself first to allow yourself to feel. And but nervous system work here is really important as well, because your nervous system doesn't feel it's safe, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's protecting you. You're being protected within yourself. So, I mean, this is a whole conversation, and it's work and it's practice, and we'll all have these different aspects that we find it hard for ourselves. But honestly, just having so much love and self-compassion for yourself as well, rather than never get into that like frustration or judgment because you can't feel your emotions or you don't know what they are, and just giving yourself time and grace to actually start to explore this.
When you mean energy work, do you mean just like Reiki?
So the yes, Reiki could probably do it. I can't really speak to Reiki because I don't practice that. I practice geo love healing. So when I do energy healings on clients, this is exactly what we're doing. We're releasing the energetic blocks, we're releasing the emotional blocks. And so often you have what's like an energetic detox. So, like when you stop eating crappy foods for a week, you feel really sick and you feel like, and you get headaches from not having caffeine. It's a bit like that, where some of these emotions and, the stuff that needs to be released will come up to the surface.
It's interesting. It's not a modality I've heard of. Thank
Sorry,
you. It's not something I'd actually heard of, to be honest.
what energy healing?
No, the type of energy healing that
It's
you
just
do.
like you're talking about belief coding, it's just another modality. So it's the person I learned from, it's their own modality of energy healing. And, there's a million different ways to achieve all of these things, really.
Yeah, right. That's
So
really helpful. Thank you.
you're so welcome. Right, let's just get back and see what else is in the chat. I can relate to everything. I especially love your story about health and how you're able to create a new way of being. That is and has been a process for me. Yeah, absolutely. And it really is. Yeah. It's hard to stay focused on positive sometimes, completely. And I think especially again, emotions. Emotions isn't something we're really going into today, but this is what we'll talk about more on day 3 because it's all about holding the energy, but it's the emotions that really keep our minds stuck and keep our minds focused on pain or problems or things that we need to solve. And this is where we need to move into faith, and that can be one of the most challenging things for most of us, really. So again, processing our emotions through, again, so many different ways we can do it. And this is something I'll be exploring with people that want to join in Iconic at the end of this, is really learning how to process our emotions, how to regulate our systems, how to, really understand what's going on in the body. So emotional regulation is so important and it's key. It's a success code and it's key to making any change in your life, because if you're feeling negative and stressed, and most of us are living in survival or have been all our lives. So when we're like that, it's very hard to focus on what we want and feel positive and feel like we're going to get it. But we need to train our mind. We have to train our mind, but at the same time, also allow these emotions to sort of be released, because then that gives us the power back. So going off on a complete tangent here. So thank you for sharing, ladies. I'll jump back into this. So before, what I want to share with you, and I think we're going to have some of them today. We're going to go over today. I'll see how many I get through. There's 8 hidden blocks that most ambitious, soul-led, high-achieving women make when it comes to, living their dreams, setting their goals, becoming the woman that they want to be. So there's eight blocks or 8 mistakes. I really see them as blocks rather than mistakes, but I'll be sharing those. And we'll probably, if we don't have time to get through them all and it feels a bit content heavy, we'll start day 2 with some of them as well. But before I want to get into that, I just want to share one way of being with you that is going to be really, really important for you to achieve your goals, for you to live the life that you want, for you to have the outcomes, for you to be that woman. And that is audacity. And again, this is something I've got a YouTube video coming out with about this, because audacity is such a funny word, because I always used to relate it to, being cocky or demanding, or, there's always that phrase, isn't there? Oh my God, I can't believe she's got the audacity to do that. This is the level of conviction we need when it comes to owning what we want, because so many of us don't give ourselves permission. We feel like someone else has to give ourselves permission, or we're just not willing to claim the things that we say that we want. It almost, maybe we feel guilty because of possibly how we've been grown up. Again, I sent out, sorry for my dogs. I sent out an email, I think maybe today, talking about this. As women, we've been so restricted with what we were allowed to do. In the UK alone, we weren't allowed to get jobs until after the 70s. We weren't allowed to open a bank account without a man. We weren't allowed to vote. And that wasn't that long ago. if we think about it. So for centuries, we've been conditioned to play small, to be less than, to just sit in the background, look after the family, look after the men, right? We haven't been given permission to thrive and expand and step into our power. Anyone with spiritual gifts was burnt at the stake and called a witch. This has gone on for centuries and centuries. This is the programming in the DNA imprints that we have, right? The genetic code. So just give yourself grace about that, but also decide that today is a new day and decide that today you're going to claim it. Have the audacity to desire what you desire, to have what you want, to believe you can have it. When you start thinking, oh my God, who do I think I am wanting this? Good. That's what we want. We want you to be questioning yourself. We want you to be deciding that you are worth something so much more that you're actually thinking, God, who do I think I am? Then you know you're targeting the right thing because there's so much power, there's so much potential in you. You are limitless. And so let's start creating desires that reflect that. Let's start going on the path to things that you've always told yourself you're never allowed to have. You can't have, it's impossible for you. Let's start exploring that. And the work we do are the roadblocks that come up on the way. That's what we release on the way. That is the work. These are the practices. This is the mastery. So I had an example of this with a client that I worked with a couple of years ago. We did some coaching together and she did one of my programs. And, at the time we were breaking through some of her beliefs. She was excellent. She's a badass at what she did, but she was playing small. She had these beliefs that were keeping her at certain limits. There was a lot of fear about going over to the next level, lots of hidden fears, lots of hidden beliefs that she'd inherited from family and all of these kind of things. And then last week, she literally got invited to a dinner with Kajabi's CEO. Kajabi is like, for those of you that don't know, is a platform that's used by digital creators all over the world. Lots of people selling courses and things like that. It is a massive, massive, massive platform. And so it was quite the thing for her to be one of 40 people to be invited to go and have dinner with him and, share the evening with him. And she said to me, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you. And by you, like it's the work that we did as well, right? It's the power of identity. It's the power of reprogramming her subconscious mind and her beliefs. It's the power of taking back her own power and deciding that she was ready. She did all the work. She did all of this. But without that work together, she would never have allowed herself to dream or realize it was possible. She wouldn't have known how to change her beliefs. She wouldn't have known how to change her identity. So that was just absolutely just amazing because once she sort of did this and released some of these layers of conditioning and decided to be decided to be the mirror and create something differently. She was showing up different. She was owning it. She was upgrading herself. She was upgrading her value and the self-worth and how she saw herself. And that got reflected and that just grew her business astronomically. So, audacity isn't comfortable, and it requires you to be edgy. It requires you to be on the edge, feeling uncomfortable about the things that you want, about who you want to be, about the game that you want to play. But it's all inside of you. You just have to be willing and daring. And this is what I see hold a lot of people back is, just not leaning into that comfort. And that's the number one block. So I'll talk about that in a second. But in the meantime, let me know in the chat, just from talking about this, where do you think you've been holding yourself back? And again, if you're watching the replay, share in the comments because I'll come in and I'll comment on there as well. Where are you holding yourself back? Where do you not have the audacity to claim what it is that you want? Where aren't you claiming what you want? Where aren't you being daring? Where do you think you're playing small? Just take a moment to reflect on that because the more we reflect and integrate, the more powerful this is going to be for you. So I'll give you a minute to just share the chat and I'll make sure I've got it open this time. For fear that I'll start to move a bit and then it will all go wrong and I will look foolish. Yeah, that's so common and it's understandable, isn't it? Because, well, You've just basically touched on point number one. So thank you for sharing that. And I'll speak to that in a moment. Procrastination and pushing forward when I have a lot going on. Yeah, it's easy. Anything that's uncomfortable, anything that requires us to be edgy and really, and put ourselves first because of what I was talking about with women and conditioning and things. It's easy to then focus on the other stuff that's going on and not make it such a priority. It's easy to not follow our dreams and to make excuses as well because it doesn't always feel safe and it's certainly never going to be comfortable, right? Ever. If we're playing in comfort, we'll talk about that now. Seeking comfort, number one. So I work with clients that want to create big things. They get excited, they dream big, they have all these fantastic ideas. And honestly, it blows my mind when I hear some of them. I'm excited for them. I want them to start doing it. And just as you've said there, it's like, right, okay, I really want to do this thing, but what if it doesn't work? What if I look stupid? What if I fail? What if people see me failing? What if no one buys? What if it doesn't work? What if I'm rejected? What if I'm ridiculed? There's all of these fears come up. And that's okay. Like the fears are meant to come up. That's okay. That's showing us where we're at. And it's also taking us to the edge of what is comfortable and familiar to us. But if we stay in what's comfortable and familiar, we stay in exactly the life we're in. You can predict your life in 10 years' time based on where you are right now and what's happening right now. If you stay in what's comfortable and predictable and familiar. So the comfort zone, seeking comfort is one of the most crippling things that hold people back. And so we want to be able to expand into being someone that is willing to hold it all. If we want the success or the outcome, we have to be willing to hold the disappointment of not achieving it, of not having it, whether that's now or never. Like we have to be open to that. And we have to be able to hold it all. And the way we hold it all and the way we hold sort of the upside of it and the flip side, knowing that it might not pan out, is to not be attached to the outcome, to not identify with the outcome being this massively important thing that if I don't have this or I don't achieve this or this doesn't go my way, it's what are you saying it means about you? Then I must be a complete failure. Nothing will ever happen for me. What is the story around that? Because that's a neat little trick from the ego to keep you exactly where you are and to keep you safe and the same, to keep you in the familiar, to not dare venture off the known path, right? The ego will be throwing up all of these mind stories. So we need to let go of that attachment. Like it doesn't mean anything about you. And I talk about business a lot because it's just the perfect example. When you go into business, you make so many mistakes, you fail so many times because it's how you figure out what to do. And it's the same with life, having kids. I made so many mistakes. I didn't know what I was doing when I had the first one. I had the second one. I thought I knew what I was doing, but she was a completely different child, and I was learning again for the first time. I had no idea what I was doing all over again. I got a dog. Had no idea what I was doing. Didn't realize they'd be so hard. Wow. We're always figuring it out. So why do we have this goal and we're like, okay, but it needs to work first time straight away. Otherwise I'm a failure and I can't do it. We didn't do that with these other things. A marriage, relationships. We figure it out on the way. It takes work. Sometimes there's peaks, sometimes there's troughs. Like, why are we making our goals different to everything else in life? Right? The pressure we put under it. And then that instant gratification of needing it now, you know? And so we retract and we stay where it's comfortable, we stay where it's safe, because then nothing can go wrong. We don't have to feel uncomfortable. We don't have to feel those emotions of disappointment, of fear, of embarrassment, of shame. So it's not the goal and it's not the comfort zone that's the problem. It's us avoiding the emotions and what we're telling ourselves it means. We live in a world of duality. There's always going to be an upside to a downside to an upside. Yeah, we focus on the downsides and say, that's it, we're stuck, we're powerless. we want the upsides, but we're not willing to deal with the flip side if it comes. We're not, people want success in business, but they're not willing to take the dips with the troughs with the peaks. They just want it to be a nice flat line to success, which it isn't. Nothing ever is it? Even the dream relationships, people have to work at them, you know? And there's learning on the way, always. So failure is just a stepping stone to success. Rejection is part of the journey, like depending on what it is that your outcome is or your goal or what it is that you want to do. There's going to be people that don't agree with you, that don't want the same thing as you. If it is business, that don't choose you, that don't want to buy from you, but that's okay because it means there's other people. We don't need everyone. We don't need everyone to agree with us. We just need to have that relationship with ourselves, right? That's the most important thing. It's you and your dreams and yourself. And the people that will support you will support you. The people that want to buy from you will buy from you. The people that like understand will understand. This is why community is so important. That's another one that I'll talk to. So if you seek comfort and you prefer to stay in the known and you let that fear I'll talk about in a minute, but if you let that fear take over, then you're just going to stay in exactly the same frustration, exactly the same place where your soul's just like, come on, let's do some stuff. I want to grow. I want to thrive. Let's expand. Let's do these things. And the body's like, but it's scary and I don't want to. And it feels unsafe. The more you get out of your comfort zone, the more you get on your edges, the more you actually move past them and do the things and fall on your face and get embarrassed and, have people laugh at you and fail. The more you do that, the less of a thing it becomes. I've had to fall on my face so many times. I've had to do things that don't work so many times. And at first that contracted me and stopped me from wanting to move forward. But when I didn't make that mean something about me, like I'm a failure, no one's ever going to want this or whatever it is, I'm no good. As soon as I stopped making it mean that, it meant that I could get up and do it again. You know, think about the light bulb 10,000 times to create the light bulb, to invent the light bulb. How many failed attempts was that? And he said it's not a failure. It's just it took me this many times to find the right one. So comfort zone is absolutely huge. And just learning this again is something we're going to be doing for anyone that comes into Iconic is really, I like to call it duality surfing, where we're really riding those waves of contrast and being okay with it and being able to hold this is emotional regulation, it's emotional resilience, nervous system regulation, being able to hold the highs, being able to hold all of the good things in our life, whilst also navigating the unwanted things that come up. The grief, the fear, the pain, all of these things, and being able to hold it all. Because when we're in a place of personal power, we can hold it all and it's okay. We're not freaking out because, oh my God, we're not going to manifest what we want because we're not thinking positively or feeling positively all the time. It's like we are a human being having a human experience that has a lot of emotions, that has a lot of things going on. And the more you work with yourself, especially with your feminine energy, the more emotions will come up, the more emotional you'll feel, the more sensitive you are. And the more you make that okay, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything bad, it's just a sensation. These are just energy moving through you, then it becomes easier to navigate. It becomes easier to ride the waves of contrast. So they're not taking you down. Like I can't remember what they called them. When I was in Australia in Perth, we went to this beach and the waves were brutal. I think they used to call them head bashers or something because they literally took you down and honestly, your head would get bashed into the sand underneath the water because they were so strong. Most of us, that's contrast does that to us in our day-to-day lives because we're being so reactive. But when we learn to just ride the waves and not get taken down by them and still hold what we want and still hold our joy and still hold all of the good emotions too, then we become unstoppable. So that was number one. And again, like as we go through, keep dropping in the chat. I'll keep checking it. I want to hear what you've got to say and what you're thinking from what I'm sharing as well. Um, but you could go for it and get yourself into a worse situation than you were in your comfort zone. So then it comes down to risk and how much risk you are prepared to take, right? And is there a way? And also, is that true? Like, that's navigating fear, first of all, because there could be points where maybe it wouldn't be as bad as you think it would be. But then it's, whatever it is that you're looking at, there's a level of risk. Different people have different levels of risk. So you want to stay in a level of risk that isn't going to freak your nervous system out, but also can you expand your nervous system capacity to not feel into it as that much of a risk? And what can you do to start making moves towards it without burning the ships if that's the situation, you know? I'm single parenting, so hard work, but want a better life for me and my son. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. And you'll get it. You'll absolutely get it. The holding an attachment to outcomes and relating that to health. How do I allow? How do you allow health? How do you allow? Is that what you mean? How do you lean into, or how do you not hold an attachment to it?
Yeah, how do you allow um, the end result outcome, putting your energy into choosing, or how do you instead, I just said it. How do you choose to let all of that go and not hold an outcome that you want around health?
So how to hold the vision of it without being attached to the outcome? Well, this is like the big paradox, isn't it? This is the biggest thing that holds everyone up. It's the ability to surrender it, which means just completely leaning into trust and faith, which means there needs to be some kind of belief in something, some higher intelligence that, in your body, a higher power. And there is an intelligence. Your body is intelligence. Your body does want to heal. There's a higher power. And so for me, what I found really changed the game was I had to stop hyper focusing on the symptoms because I was doing it every day and then that became the story. So I was constantly like, oh my God, here it is, here it is, here it is. And it was finding a way to be like, okay, yeah, it's here. Now I'm not going to throw all my energy and fear and desperation and frustration at it. I'm just going to step back, acknowledge it. Yeah, it's here. Maybe tomorrow won't be. Maybe later I'll start feeling better. Maybe. It's like holding that maybe rather than deciding. Otherwise, there's this unconscious decision that this is it. And actually, this is number two that I'm just about to start speaking to, which is control. Like we're trying to control it because
Yeah.
this is what we've been taught all our lives. And we've been taught that if we have a problem, we have to go hard at it until we've fixed it, until we've resolved it. And in my case, whether that was my health, whether that's relationships, whether that is even things for my kids, whether that's my business, every time I wrestle a problem to the ground, it gets a million times worse. And then I can identify with that as my story going, oh my God, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I read a really interesting book called Dissolve the Problem by Richard Dotts. It's actually on my bedside because I'm reading it again. It's really cool. You might like it. If you haven't read it already, you might like it. And it talks about this. It talks about the fact that we're just getting in the way all the time. And so if you have a problem, we need to be aware of it, but just not spending all our time focused on it, not spending all our time trying to fix it. So with the health stuff, constantly Googling, looking at all the things, signing up for all these things, it's the same with manifesting something, going online and all the manifestation techniques. I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this. Well, we're just getting in the way. We're building so much resistance in our energy, in our mind, and we're creating so much tension in our body. And actually, that hyper focus is creating tension in the body, which is going to make the symptoms worse, right? Because we're tense. So not hyper focusing, leaning into surrender and just being like, well, what if this was for the rest of my life, I'm going to say I want this. That's my vision. But if I had to part with this for the rest of my life, how can I make it the best life I have? It gives you like a sense of letting go, that energy of just like, okay, I'm not giving up because I'd still like this, but I am going to focus on how to make my life the best life it could possibly be. And then I've got pouring more attention into stuff that's fun. And that's something else I've been doing recently, and it's something else that I'm going to be covering on these blogs is feeling into fun. Like we're so serious about this, about our problems, about the things we want to control, the outcomes, the manifestations, the business. We're so serious that the control is just like, oh my God, we're getting frustrated, and it's so frustrating. And I'm always someone that's just been like, I used to call myself and be so proud of the fact that I was fiercely independent. Where is the room for any higher power, any universe helping me, anyone ever offering me a help? No, I'm fiercely independent. I'm a strong, independent woman. And that really got in my way over the last couple of years. And I literally got forced, I think, by the universe, put into bed for a bit where I had to receive help and support. And I had to learn how to do that because I hadn't really done it before, especially when you're a single mum. I've been a single mum for 8 years, bringing my kids through all their teenage years, all of the things that they've been through that's been so difficult, right? And you're just like, everything's on me. Everything's on me. So this is an opportunity to say, how can I let something else take over? How can I allow myself to be supported and nurtured? How can I allow myself to receive? So letting go of the problem and letting the problem dissolve itself, because all the time we're focused on the problem, we're continuing to build the problem. In the book, he talks about it being like, leaving the freezer door shut with the ice cube of water in there. And so the freezer's on, so it turns the ice cube of water into ice cubes, right? They become solidified and frozen in such dense mass, and that's our problems. Whereas when we turn the freezer off and we stop focusing and trying to control every second, every part of it all the time, when we open the freezer door, it just goes back to water. And then water's like moving all over the place. It's malleable, right? And that's the energy we turn our problems into. Suddenly there's going to be a solution. And the other thing that massively, massively, massively helped me beyond anything as well was nervous system work. Was just really working on my nervous system through certain practices, through breath work, through my mind, mindset work around it, and all of these kind of things. So that's just a core piece in all my work now. It's again something I'm going to be going through more deeply in Iconic, because we need our nervous systems on board. And if our nervous system is in fight and flight, so many of the chronic symptoms and illnesses come from that stress response. And if we've been in it for decades, like I pretty much was, I was a stress head. I was an adrenaline junkie. I still am for fun. I love a bit of snowboarding, but I'm really learning to relax, and I'm really learning to enjoy that now. Because my nervous system, and that's probably part of that reason for just kind of collapsing last year, is my nervous system was just shot to pieces, just like for years, right? Always waiting for the other foot to drop, always waiting for something to go wrong, planning for the worst case scenario. It doesn't help. None of this helps. It's just what we're taught, though. So it takes a lot of deconditioning and unwiring, right? That's me, single parenting and stress. Yeah. So it's just learning. It's learning to hold ourselves through it all. It's learning not to hyper focus, hyper fixate, not to be in control of everything all the time. Because especially with kids, like Mel Robbins has got that new book, hasn't she? Let Them. Like there's an element of it we need to allow and not try and take all of their experiences off them when they're going through hard times, which is so difficult as a mother, because you're like, give me your pain, give me your, but we're just saying, give me your growth then. We're making them powerless by doing that. So yeah, it's tricky, and I totally hear you. So control. So we get stuck on this how. And like Steve Jobs said, you don't know the how till you're looking back. That's when you can join the dots. Like he didn't know how he was going to do any of it. Nikola Tesla, he didn't know how he was going to do any of it. He just kept moving with the universe, moving with his intuition. All of the light bulb, same thing. Einstein, I remember hearing a story of him just like kind of I don't know why, holding his head over a bucket or something. But anyway, he'd just be basically just sitting over, just almost allowing himself to go to sleep in that state of consciousness that's like kind of awake, but not, so that he could receive ideas. He just kept surrendering to that. And it's just showing us again, like they were being guided. All of them were being guided by something, by a higher power, by intuition, by their soul, by whatever it is that you want to believe is guiding them. But they weren't trying to wrestle it to the ground. They weren't trying to force it, and they weren't trying to figure out every step of the way because it's impossible. If you say, "How am I going to do this?" Your subconscious goes, "Oh, I don't know," which means you can't do it and it's impossible, and you never go after it because that's the immediate response, right? So we don't have to know how. We just decide. We just decide that this is the outcome we want. We just decide this is what's going to happen for us, and this is what we had to do with our business as well. Like we had to decide, and we could never have predicted what we did. We got a coach to help us, and even the things that they taught us didn't end up working. It ended up working in a different way. And so, but we weren't attached to it's going to work in this way and all the steps. We were just like, it's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. And now we're going to duality surf and ride the waves of contrast on the way there, holding the vision, you know? So every time we freeze about the how, we're being in control. We're staying in the predictable and we're not allowing any magic, any miracles, any potentiality, any possibility. We are literally going, from a broad perspective, bearing in mind our soul is so much bigger than our body. We are connected to intuition, to infinite intelligence, to ideas, to information, to data all around us. But when we say we need to know the how, or when we're in control, we bring that perspective all the way down. So we're almost looking through a microscope and we're like, but that's all we can see. So we can't get there because we've closed off all the potential routes, all of the infinite possibilities, instead of just opening ourselves up and being like, okay, I don't know how it's going to happen. And that's okay. So what do I need to do today? How can I be in alignment today? How can I live my best life today? How can I have a bit of fun while I'm here? How can I not be so serious? How can I just start to trust? And trust is something that builds with time, right? And doing this work. So otherwise, all we're doing is we're just predicting what can happen based on the past, but no one ever created something new that way. They had to stop trying to predict and allow something to come in a new way, a way that they haven't imagined, a way that they didn't know how. So this is all about staying in the void. And that's what we're going to be talking about on day 3, all about staying in the energy, staying in the void. So we'll talk about that more. So is anyone else resonating with that one as well? I know it came off very nicely, like these things do off the back of the last conversation we had. So number 3 is something I touched on when I was sort of sharing some of my stories, so that you could see it like tangibly, was we focus on the outputs over inputs. And this is all part of the mirror principle. It's like we're looking at the results, we're looking at the things that are playing out in our world, in our reality, and we're focused on them and we're trying to force them into a different way of being rather than focusing on what's actually going on inside of us. What are our inputs? What are the things that we can control? So we know we can't control the outside. We know we've got to surrender that because we can't control outcomes. But what we can control is what we're feeding ourselves in terms of our thoughts and our stories, in terms of our beliefs, in terms of how we decide to show up. Like we were just saying, let's just have the best day ever. Let's just focus on having a good time, showing up the best we can and moving towards what it is that we want. Like the more we let go and focus on living our best life, which isn't something we've been taught to do, the inspiration and intuition comes, the synchronicities come, like the magic starts happening. And then as soon as the magic starts happening, we start controlling it, going, right, I want more of this magic. How do I do that? That's what I've been guilty of, especially recently, with things just flying in left, right, and center. And I'm like, right, how do I make this predictable? I can't. I can't control it. So I have to step back and go, okay, what can I put in? What can I put in? What can I feed into this? And that's where I focus on instead. So what are the inputs that we can focus on? And it's all about who we're being, how we're showing up every single day, just being that 1% better. Who do I need to be? How can I be in alignment with this thing that I want? Right, number 4. Yeah, just had to go off because of 4th of July in the US. Yeah, absolutely. No worries at all. We will use number 4. Now, let me know in the comments who's still here if you want me to do all 8 or if you want me to stop at 4 and start with 5 on day 2. Let me know what you want to do because I don't mind either. Number 4 is letting fear stop us. So we already touched on this as well. Like fear, we see fear as the reason not to do something. It feels scary in our body and our nervous system. It feels so resistant. You know, we shut down and we contract. But what we want to do is use fear as an activation. If you're scared of it, it means it's the right thing to do. If you're scared of it, obviously not jumping off a cliff onto a road or running in front of a car, right? But if it's a goal, if it's a dream, if it's something that is on your heart and your soul, and the next step you're presented with something in your mind that you're like, I think I need to do that, or I should do that, and it feels fearful, and then you don't do it because it feels fearful, that fear is an activation. That fear is this is the right way, this is the edge. The fear's showing you all it is it's not comfortable. So number 1, we seek comfort. We're taught to seek comfort. We want to stay in our comfort zone. So we lose all our expansion, all our growth. We don't become someone else. We can't become someone else because we're doing the same thing over and over again. So fear of the unknown, that's all it is. And that's okay. But what we want to start doing is making friends with fear, seeing fear as an activation. If we've realized that fear is just a sensation in your body, it's just a sensation. It's energy moving through. So what the real thing is managing our mind. There's things we can do to look at the fear, like question it. How do you push past the fear? Right, yeah. So there's things we can do like just looking at it. Look at the fear. Like, what am I afraid of? Like, these are some of the best questions you can use to actually bring a logical perspective to it. What am I afraid of? What is the worst case scenario? What do I really think is going to happen? And like, let yourself journal on this. Is it really going to happen? And what's the best case scenario from this fear that I have? And then number 5, what's likely to happen? Because it's not usually going to be the best case or the worst case. What's in the middle? What's likely to happen? And can I be okay with that? And it really depends on what the fear is. And, sometimes when we try and even the language, when we try and push past fear, even that pushing creates resistance and it can be quite difficult. But we need to make what we want more compelling and more desirable than the fear of doing it. So we need to build up our why. We want to get emotionally engaged and involved with what it is that we say we want. Like, do you really want it? If fear's getting in the way, do you actually want this thing? How much do you want it? And just knowing fear's always going to be there. Fear never goes. Every single level, every new thing you do, it goes with the thing you're doing. So, for example, like I used to be terrified of going online, going on social media because I was always very private with that stuff. I didn't really go on social media. So when I did this business, I was like, oh, I've got to start showing up. Like that fear hit hard. Then it was speaking on video. So I made myself I'm good at doing this. Like I would rather dive in deep and give myself a little challenge where I have to commit to get over it because I was scared of going on video and I was scared of going live. I did a 30-day live on Facebook, on my Facebook feed where everyone could see me. I was dealing with fear of judgment. I was dealing with fear of ridicule, looking stupid, getting it wrong, saying the wrong thing, being seen, visible, all the rest of it. And although now still, I get little twinges of, butterflies and stuff before I press a live or whatever, or before I start one of these big calls and things. But it gets easier and easier and easier. So maybe after about 3-4 days of doing those lives, it suddenly becomes normal. And so that fear's not there anymore because you've gone through it, you've moved past it. But then you have to go to the next level and there's a new fear because it's something you haven't done before. But most people just contract and they stop and they won't take the action. So there could also be something else here, which again is something we won't cover in here. This would be something I do in Iconic, but there could be like a trauma response as well. So sometimes I see people like absolutely frozen in fear and they literally can't do the thing they say they want to do. So maybe it's getting visible, maybe it's starting a YouTube channel, maybe it's something doing something like that. And they're literally, their body is so contracted and tense. And so there's a trauma response in there, right? So then it's doing the healing work, like what's creating this? Where's it come from? Let's start unraveling that and not going back there, not reliving it, but let's start releasing it. Let's do some emotional work. Let's do some emotional processing. Let's do some belief work. Let's do some energy work. And let's regulate the nervous system. So it's always going to feel, you're always going to feel fear. Like it won't go ever. It's always going to be there. But if it actually is so strong to your body, there's a story that's just in play there. There's an unconscious story that is just circulating that will not let you move forward. So we need to release all of that, right? So there's lots of stuff. That's just more of the deeper work, though. But if it's just surface level fear where you're like, I don't want to do it, it feels uncomfortable, it's scary, we just got to do it. So that's number 4. Ladies, what did you want me to do? Do you want me to carry on till number 8? Just let me know in the chat. Either say finish now or carry on till I've got to 8. I think it'll probably be 15 minutes. So it's up to you. I'll just wait until you've put in the chat. Carry on. Yeah, that's fine. Is that okay for you as well? Yeah, carry on, carry on. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. Okay. So this is highly related to fear. So we're anchored. So number 5 is anchored to the past and not to their vision. So actually, I've just covered some of this. We're really just, we're anchored to the fear. The fear is telling us a story about why we can't do it, which means we're anchoring to something in the past. Like I just said, it could be a traumatic event or a story or something, or some kind of trauma that's in the body. It could be some kind of experience. It could be some kind of childhood thing, whatever it is. But we're anchored to that. And so it's really difficult to move forward and follow our vision and our path and take action when we're energetically tied to our past, because we're telling ourselves we can only have what's in the past, right? So this is where we are being more guided and directed by the ego rather than our soul. So we're listening to our mind instead of our heart and our soul. And this is where we really need to follow our body. Like our body holds the wisdom. Our body, it holds so much truth, so much guidance. We think it's our mind, right? And although we create reality with our mind is always going to try and talk us out of things. The ego is wild with its creativity and new ways to hook us in. You know, once we do the work and we level up, it'll find new ways and sneaky ways to like pull us back. And so the more, and again, nervous system work, emotional work, energetic work, really making that connection to your body and start feeling your way somewhere. You know, intuition comes through a feeling. It's a knowing. It's sometimes just this, oh, you know, when you say, oh, I feel like I should do this thing. It doesn't make sense. I don't want to do it. It feels uncomfortable. That's your intuition guiding you. It's going to take you to places that are going to make you grow. They're not going to be comfortable, but it's not going to lead you to the past. It's not going to, you know, giving you these fear stories. It's going to be activating you to take action. So, you know, when we're still attached to the past, I've had it where, you know, I know a lot of people that are therapists or coaches that are in my circle. And I kind of touched on this a bit earlier as well, but you know, sometimes when we start identifying patterns and beliefs in us, oh, I got that from my dad, I got that from my mum, or this happened when I was a kid, we can then stay anchored to that story. Yeah, but that's because this happened when I was a kid and that's why I'm like it. It's like, no. That's not the reason we're doing this work. We're doing the reason we're doing the work is to release that story, right? We've seen it, we've got the awareness. Now we don't have it, we don't need it to be in our identity anymore. And that takes work. It takes rewiring and it takes making the same choice over and over and over again until you've changed the subconscious pattern, right? But all the time, and I saw it so many times, and they're like, yeah, but this happened with my dad and la la la. I'm like, but why are you still telling the story? Why are you still giving it energy? Why are you still feeding it? Why are you still keeping it alive in your body? right? And in your identity. It's limiting. And we don't want to do that. We want to shift them. We don't want to keep pouring our energy and our focus and our storytelling into it. So, what we want to do is we want to be looking at these past events. We want to be looking at the things, or when we're attached to the past, we want to collect the wisdom from it. This is what I call digging for gold. I did a YouTube video on this as well. We want to dig for the gold. Like, what is in here that is teaching me something? What can I learn from this? Maybe it's something about me. Maybe it's something about other people. Maybe it's something about a certain experience, or, what did I, if it's something that happened that you're like, I did this wrong, like, what did I do wrong? And what would I do better next time? Like, how can I change next time I'm faced with this? What is it showing me? Because these patterns tend to repeat themselves from the past until we get the message, until we get the lesson, until we shift internally, right? So instead of being anchored to it, instead of repeating it, it's like, let's dig for gold. Let's collect the wisdom. Let's just use it and make it our power, because now we know this thing and we choose differently this time. And what's really interesting about the past is Joe Dispenza talks about this. It's proven by science, neuroscience, that every time we think about a memory from the past, we change it. So if there's a memory that happened when you're a child, the amount of times you've thought about it, you've changed that memory so much that it's not even the same event anymore. Isn't that wild? And it kind of makes sense, because every time you think about it, you're thinking about it from a new perspective. You're older, you've been through more stuff, it's a new consciousness. So we change it. It changes and changes and changes. So what we can do is we can decide to change the past. We can decide to change it by looking at it in a different light. Instead of looking at the pain and the thing that happened to us and, you know, feeling like a victim and it incorporating in our identity, instead of having that story anymore, let's change it and go, okay, I can reframe this, because at a car accident, 5 different people looking at an accident will give you 5 different stories of what happened, and they'll all be right because they all saw it from their own perspective. How many different perspectives has that event got? How many different ways could you tell the story that empower you? Instead of going, yeah, but it happened in this way, because then we're just committing ourselves to the story. Abraham Hicks talks about fighting for your limitations. It's a choice now. Like, do we want to keep feeling that? Do we want to keep identifying with that? Do we want to keep telling that story? Or can we now decide to reframe it and rewire it? Can we choose to see it in a different way? What can be an empowering take? If everything in my life happened for me, say this was given to me by the universe, say, depending on your beliefs, say, when I came, I chose my lessons. When I was a soul born into this reality, I chose my lessons. If I chose this lesson, what was it teaching me? If I chose this experience, what has it delivered me? What have I built up from this? This is what I coach my clients with as well. We don't want to hold on to the story of the victim. We want to hold on to the story of, okay, that helped me become. That helped me change and do this. That led to this. That led to this. Like, what are the other things that happened? We spoke about duality earlier. There's two sides to everything, right? Polarity. There's like a hot and a cold. So to the what we say is bad, what was the good? What are the things that happened as a result of it? And I've had clients go through awful, awful, disgusting things that, especially as a child, abuse in all forms. And it's made them parent in a way beyond anything, right? And this abuse, like, it could have gone through generations, but it stopped with them. And they decided they were going to be different. They had children. They were the best parent ever. Their children were thriving, couldn't have been more loved, couldn't have been more respected, couldn't have been safer, right? So that was an awful, awful experience to go through. No one would ever wish it for anyone, ever, 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 ever. But as a result of it, they chose to focus on who they became and how they were able to break the pattern, right? Break the cycle, and who they became as a mum or a dad. So it takes courage and it takes strength. And a lot of the time, if it's something like that, it takes support. Like we need often some professional support for that. So, there's a lot of trauma there. but we can choose to see it through a different light if we want to take our power back and not be ruled by it and not be constrained by it, because you're all powerhouses. You're all incredible, powerful women. You literally create life in your body without even knowing how to do it. You know, as a woman, you were given a body that can grow people. How magic and miraculous is that? And we don't even need to do anything, it just happens. And so going back to when Gigi was talking about health, that's how intelligent our body is. That is the intelligent energy and consciousness that is running through our body at a cellular level. We grow and make people without knowing how. So if our body can do that, it can do anything, right? So this is how powerful we are as women. So we don't want our past to own us, control us, constrict us, tell us that we can't ever have what we want, because it's not true. We can draw a line in the sand today, right here, right now, and we can choose to see ourselves in a different way. We will be talking about identity on Monday. This is going to be game changing because that is all about the identity. So number 6, I'm going to make these ones quick now. Number 6 is playing small. So we've already spoken about like fear getting in the way and comfort getting in the way. But every time we end up letting the fear or the control or the discomfort take over us, we end up playing such a smaller game. Like we're so capable. We're so capable of so much. And anything that you want, you can literally create. It has to start within, the mirror principle. But we have to stop waiting for permission. We have to stop shrinking every time something feels uncomfortable. We have to get used to feeling uncomfortable on a daily basis. Like I did with the Facebook Live, every day I went on and felt discomfort. That then became comfortable. So then I started doing the next thing. Okay, what's the next thing? Let's start a podcast. Let's do a YouTube channel. It's uncomfortable. Let's keep growing. Let's keep growing. And then soon enough, you end up getting comfortable being uncomfortable. It never feels nice, but you start seeing it as that, oh, okay, I'm in this edge. I know what this feeling is. I know it's not real. I know it's not fear. But I also know that as I stretch this and move past it and do the thing anyway, I've literally just become another person. And if you are familiar with many worlds theory, quantum physics, multiple realities, parallel universes existing simultaneously, your every single decision and choice you make puts you on a different timeline. So every time you stretch, you decide to play big, you decide to actually go after it. Every little decision you make during the day that is aligned to that is literally putting you towards a different outcome, putting you on a different timeline. Every time we shrink and contract, we stay on the same one where I said, like in 10 years, your life is still the same as it is right now because there's no change. How can it be different? Right? So control isn't our friend. Familiar isn't our friend. Comfort zone isn't our friend. Fear is our friend because it tells us where we need to go. Number 7. And again, still feel free if anything's dropping through, drop it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, drop it in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going. Keep your ahas and your breakthroughs coming. Number 7, we spoke about this a minute ago, is not celebrating or having fun. I was so guilty of this. I was so serious about trying to make it happen. Control. About hustling my way to what I wanted. Control. About just, I put my life on hold. I decided to wait, like then I can have. When I've hit this goal, created this income, created this in my business or whatever it was, then I can start going to the spa. Then I can start having days off. Then I can start relaxing. I wouldn't let myself relax. I was literally busy from the minute I got up. I'd carve out some time in the morning for when the girls were at secondary school for meditation, my soulful stuff. Then literally get up, walk the dogs, girls at school, busy, busy, busy. They come back, walk the dog again, dinner, this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe do a bit of work in it was jam packed until I went to bed. It was crazy because I was like, no, I'll just get there first. I'll just get there first. Does anyone else ever feel like that? I'm just going to wait until I'm there and then I'm going to let myself have, you know, been going hard on a healing journey to see what you mean about being about fun being last thing on mind. Yeah, I exactly. But you know what? And I even see, look at your words as well, been going hard on healing journey, right? We bring this pressure to the healing journey. I did it 100%. I brought the pressure, I brought the struggle, I brought the masculine energy. Let's just get this healing out of the way and then I'll be okay. Oh my God, things aren't changing. I must need to heal harder. I must need to do more healing. I must try this, I must try that. What if the answer was in just letting ourselves off the bloody hook and relaxing more? What happens when you relax? Things drop in. Like last month, I had one of my best months. It was really easy. I decided to have more pleasure, more fun. I decided to relax. Because I was deciding to relax, my body was relaxed. What does that do to your vibration and the energy you're sending out? And therefore, what you're attracting in? Your nervous system's relaxed. You're not in a state of fear, panic, pressure. You're open. You're expansive. Ideas pop in, thoughts pop in. Suddenly, people text you, right? Sales come in. Things come out of nowhere. Fun opportunities come in. And the more you can just allow yourself to that, you're saying you're worthy of it now. And actually, your healing journey will be so much more powerful as you integrate fun with it. And again, nervous system is something that I'll be talking a lot more about in Iconic, but just to give you a tidbit that this journey of growth involves fear, right? So we have to work with the nervous system because we're constantly putting ourselves in fear and discomfort. And something that helps the nervous system is celebration and having fun and just resting and pleasure because you're showing your body and your nervous system that you're okay. You know, if you are about to die, you're not going to have time to rest. If you're about to die, you're not sat there celebrating the fact that, hey, I've shifted today. I've just thought about something in a different way. I've just got an idea. I'm going to celebrate that. It might be small, but I'm celebrating it. Your nervous system isn't like panic, panic, panic. You're about to die. It's like, she's cool. She's cool. She's fine. Resting, play, pleasure. Just allow this to be a journey. We're not fighting hard to get to the end result because then the end result will never happen. We're enjoying ourselves. We're making our life a masterpiece. We're doing the best with what we've got right now. And we're making it fun right now. We're not waiting for the money to have the experiences. We're looking at the experiences we want, and then we say, how can we create something like that with what I have right now? You know, there's so many like amazing places that you can go to that are free. You can create special picnics with twinkly lights under the moon. You know, there's so many different things you can do that you can romanticize your life with to make it feel luxurious and abundant now before you have the money, just as an example, because I know so many people hold off, and I did too, of having the things that I want until I have the money, right? But that keeps the money away. So we just want to enjoy our life, let it be easy, you know? And the last thing is doing it alone. I've had my fair share of being like, no, I can do this on my own, and it just doesn't work. Like, especially a lot of my clients have family that don't understand, that aren't on the same path, co-workers, people that don't get it, people that are negative, people that are always watching the news and talking about how bad this is, how bad that is, and if they find it really hard to stay in alignment. So make sure you're in a community of people that think in the same way and that activate you, not people who are stuck in the same stories. If you're stuck in stories, not people who will be like, oh, I know, yeah, I'm the same. You know, you don't want that. You want people that are activating you, people that are just like doing the thing that can inspire you and motivate you and activate that power inside of you so you go and do it too. People that are, you know, willing to share what's hard, but just focusing on where they want to go and who they want to be instead, right? People that are positive, people that will build you up, people that will cheerlead you, people that will say you're doing brilliant, people that won't buy into your BS and your limitations, people that will see your power and your light, and they enhance that and they reflect that back at you. These are the people we want around us to help us and to balance out everyone else in our lives, right? So just make sure you're in a community. It's going to be something, it's going to be a core piece of Iconic when I launch that, is building that community of soul sisters, of people that are all on the same journey and that are there to really build each other up and encourage each other and motivate each other. Because it's just so powerful. And every time I put myself in these environments, I grow and expand and it's easier and I believe it more, right? And you also see what other people are achieving. And then you're like, if they did it, I can do it too. So that's the last thing I wanted to share. So well done. We've got through them all in the time that I was hoping we'd get through them by. So is there any last things that you want to share before we let you go? And so I will be going through mistaken identity on day number 2, which is Monday. So you'll have all weekend to really think about this and integrate it. I'll leave some journal prompts in the Facebook group so that you can start reflecting on this and making change right now. And then day 3 is all about holding the energy, of course. So just let me know if you've got anything you want to share before we break off. And of course, in the group and on the replay, just let me know any comments you have, any questions you have. I'll be happy to answer them. Great information. Thank you. You're so welcome. I'm glad you found it helpful. If that's it, right, ladies, let's bring it to a close. So thank you again for attending live. I appreciate you so much. And anyone that can join me on Monday live, I would really appreciate that as well. Let's get into the energy. Let's empower each other and have a think about this over the weekend. Start thinking about what you're going to change, what you're going to start allowing into your life, and what you can take from this to implement straight away. And of course, come in the Facebook group and share it with all of us so we can support you too. So, sending you all lots of love. Have an amazing weekend. Happy Independence Day for my American friends. And I will see you on Monday, but I'll see you in the Facebook group over the weekend. All right, take care. Bye.